Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us.
The original definition of the term cult has been derived from the French word culte, which simply means to worship. The term cult may be applied to groups of people who share and practice a particular faith and dogma which has been laid down by the leader. You can't have a cult without a leader. The leader is the founder of the cult, the creator and preacher of its beliefs, practices and morale. The belief and ritual systems that are practiced within cult groups are usually based around religious, spiritual, or philosophical ideas. Other cult doctrines may be based around magic or ideals of justice. All cults transgress beyond mainstream morals of good and bad, what is normal and what is not, traditional religious beliefs, even without intending to do so. To be in a cult, to belong in a group outside of wider society, which may either directly oppose against the wider society, or does so anyway in its mere existence in nature, is to be transgressive. It could be argued that all cult groups are transgressive in the eyes of society, as the values and workings of the society to which they exist in are not valued, and are not considered to work, so therefore are not considered at all in terms of reverence. The word cult is wrapped in stigma and more often than not used derogatively. Cults tend to be stereotyped to represent a realm of dangerous and obscure activity. I'm sure that members of a cult today would deny that their group is a cult upon confrontation. Yet the root definition of the word remains the same and ever open to objectivity: a group of worship. Hypothetically, it's like saying that all religion is evil due to the transgressive outcomes of a few people in the entirety of the globe who belong to a religion. To worship something can't be that much of a sin. The only threat that comes with worship is to the individual's autonomy, psyche and steel. Steal my steel, why don't you? The existent public opposition within the outside world can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Cults are us, the outside world is them. Us can do whatever we like, no matter how wild, because us is fed up of them's boundaries. Them is calling us evil. Them is sending the FBI to check on us. Us will not allow it. Us will defend against this immorality and get guns. The opposition towards cults will validate to cults their negative perception of the outside world that existed anyway, and a world to which they had always felt that they didn't belong to. Son, stop leading your group, they are a cult. I'm not leading a cult, we are a spiritual movement, and anyway, I felt really happy and enlightened whilst doing so. Your perceptions are warped. Even my own mother is against me. You're crazy, this is not normal. The very next day. Fellow Lifists, it has been confirmed to me that we live in a world of aliens. Today is the day we shall launch the ship out of here. Poor cults. Yes, I know. Cults may also be referred to as a new religious movement. This term is preferred by academics and is apparently a nicer, more objective label than cult, although a differentiation between cult and new religious movement is rarely made, probably because they are used to refer to the same thing. New religious movement sounds fancy, but it too has its shortcomings. It bunches up all of the groups of worship together under one category, with world-affirming cults existing in the same realm as world-rejecting cults. If one is not careful, one may make the mistake of painting them in the same light. It's funny, huh? New religious movement implies that the group are a valid movement of something, a valid religion of some form, when in reality they're just weirdos in cloaks. But what has painted the perception that they're just weirdos in cloaks, or something like that? Because generally society's perception of cults tends to go something like this. Cults are weird. They're just weirdos in cloaks. And other responses, of course. But anyway, the all-influencing media seemingly only ever wants to report the bad stuff, the tragic end result, or one small, dark, bloody factor plucked out and sensationalised out of a background of sunshine and rainbows. Reports of brainwashing, apocalyptic suicides and child abuse is obviously an immediate moral no-no and will absolutely create moral panics and finger-pointing. The bad stuff will certainly stick to the name more than the good stuff, obliterating all of the good stuff, or failing that, claiming that the good stuff is actually just evil brainwashing. Yes, many cults have exploited their members. Yet it is also important to remember that many cults have also improved the lives of members and have provided viable solutions to their problems. One man's trash may be another man's dream. So, let's look at the characteristics of cults and generally delve deeper into the weird or wonderful world of cult. Cult, cult, cultity, 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 cult. So we got the characteristics of cults. Here we go. Right. Authoritarian leadership. Every cult has a leader, and what he says certainly goes. This man or lady is the innovative creator of the beliefs within the group, whether they have been developed from pre-existing ideas or not, or even whether they believe in those ideas or not, they shall be taught to the followers. Without a leader of this style, there would not be a pack of followers that have a collective conscience and demeanour which is capable for radical action or change. Some have claimed to have spoken to a higher entity. Here, they pose as a passer of special hidden religious messages about religious ideas to open to interpretation. They may really believe they have a duty to lead people into a brighter future, or they may really just want to lead for some other reason. Some may decide that they can have sex with any, if not all, of the female members, as they are the Messiah. They are charismatic and confident. They have a quality about them which would make their words sound unwaveringly true, despite their own contradictions. They are often thought to be suffering from a mental illness. They hold enough power over people to certainly get delirious over, but we obviously cannot really understand the nature of their minds. Think of all the greatest and most tragic people action in life. They were all led by someone. Cult leaders are criticised for being exploitative, manipulative, and evil. But they're power-tripping. Remind you of anyone? They'll get their comeuppance, their karma in the end. They usually end up killing themselves, causing their own deaths due to the fear of being wrong, or being found out by a secret government force of some kind, or a rather open rather than secret government force. The leader may lead a double life, a life posing as the role of leader and a life of the leader backstage, where he may be simultaneously tired of leading and tired of the life conditions when he is not leading, which I can imagine would be quite boring in comparison to the life conditions when he's leading. Unpleasantness and slip-ups may occur unintentionally due to trying to uphold multiple personalities. Whew! Number 2. Exclusivism. The doctrine that only one particular belief system, one style of attitude, is true. The leader creates the path, the followers walk on it. No government peoples, though. Members want and are ready to believe. They forget about their previous values as their new life does not require them, or may oppose them, and trade them with new ones. This is a natural process. It is also a dangerous to your actions one too. People who join cults are usually religiously inclined, or with easily malleable minds. Not that you can really tell if someone's mind is easily malleable. It could be argued that all human minds are easily malleable once you have shiny things that you want in front of you, or something else like that.
There is often evidence from pre-existing religious teachings or other which may make things believable, and the leader is the enforcer of this. He will debate and argue until you agree with him, in a nice way, in a way of saying, "You're wrong. But my, do you look swell today? Do you want a piece of sacred cake?" Everything else is viewed as false. This is the right and only way.
Isolationism.
Cults are cut off from the wider society and believe that their way is the highway. When you have been disengaged with all of society for a while in a smaller society, it is easy to believe that this is the way. Well, the only way. Members may distance themselves from their non-believing family and friends. They assume others to be harmful, unempathetic, or lesser beings unless they share their belief. When there is no other influence, there is no other idea. When everybody else is engaged in the same activity and belief system as you, there is no one to spot the dangers overlooked by collective confidence and ideology. The leader may or may not encourage this for thought reform purposes. Yep, I said it. Thought reform. Warning. The murder of a child believed to be the Antichrist may appear to be completely rational if you were to be in a cult. Wow, that really sounds like I'm condoning the murder of a child, which I'm absolutely not, but make your decision. I don't mind. Well, actually, I don't want to be known as someone who condones the murder of a child, even if it was the Antichrist. An Antichrist baby could certainly mix things up a little bit, don't you think? Anyway. Strict adherence to beliefs and practices. The leader creates the rules. If you adhere to them, you get rewarded. If you break them, you get punished. There have been many stories and claims from valid sources of cult members being somewhat abused for defying a belief, or an order, a way of cult. This style of punishment is known as corporal punishment and capital punishment in religion and state realms. There have been stories of spanking and further. This may instill fear into members and mess with their intentions. Perhaps a member may not agree with what she is doing in her mind, yet does it anyway in fear of punishment. People and their beliefs can be conditioned in this manner. Or you may be practicing what you are unfamiliar with, or what you do not believe, messing with your past identity. Members who are under strict surveillance lose their power. Perhaps a member would like to leave, yet cannot discuss this due to the isolationism everyone else is adhering, and never does due to consequences unimaginable. It's all disciplining and conditioning, which are strong ingredients for rigidity, which is a strong ingredient for conformity, which is a strong ingredient for whatever outcome is desired from the said conformity of a large number of people that you happen to be controlling. Cults often develop into large movements. Obviously, if the cult group grows larger, the leader has more power and therefore more power to use or abuse. It is often the latter. Techniques may dominate individuals' lives. The cult member is dedicated to the cause of the cult, and the structure of the cult will generally create the individual to prioritise cult happenings over anything else, including sleep. Old values are forgotten about, altering the sense of self. Number lucky 7. Lack of independent thinking. There are claims that members of cults are brainwashed into doing stuff, and the blame is usually given to the leader. How else could normal, intelligent, fine-acting people have committed suicide, killed another man, or transported themselves to another planet attainable by death? I do not believe that brainwashing of members is solely the fault of the cult leader, despite them being stigmatized so. Members can never be stripped of their conscience. It is always their conscience. Even if the conscience is unhinged, it is still a controlling conscience, a conscience which controls when you go to the toilet, when you walk somewhere, what you're doing. It is still a controlling conscience. Perhaps when you are not being conscious of your conscience, You are in the process of brainwashing yourself in an influential environment. This matches social drift theory. Thought reform methods and psychological manipulation do exist, though, and they may be practiced upon others, by human beings, with scarily accurate results. There are methods that leaders may use to gain information and to change somebody's will. The leader is intelligent, remember? The structure of cult groups and what type of mind joins them plays a significant role in changing somebody's nature. I believe that members often brainwash themselves by losing their sense of self in a radical change of environment and community, functioning on a radical change of conditions, interacting and believing in a collective manner, being immersed and excited by a new world, and having the leader preach particular jargon at them all day, every day, and forgetting about their old pre-cult path. If an ex-cult member were to claim that he and all members of his cult were brainwashed by his, let's say, genuinely really nice, if not a bit odd, leader, it would be a lie, as other members may have felt comfortable drinking the elixir of feces, and as did he, but afterwards he left due to a sudden realisation that what he had offered his time to was all a treacherous facade. He had never been morally inclined to any of the cult's morals at all. He felt embarrassed and violated. He was awestruck by the results of his doings. He felt confused and violated, like I already said, so he blamed somebody else, aka the leader, as people cannot violate themselves. Right? On the other hand, a bit of learning from the leader can't hurt, especially if you're broken inside and you feel as if you have learned it all and somebody else claims to possess a spiritual knowledge sent to him from the spirits. We all know that collective thinking can also prove to be a very positive force. Many cult ideas have formed out of and often resist against the conflict and inequality of capitalism. Capitalistic society caters for a lot, and all it does not openly cater for are either frowned upon or illegal. Magic, dreaming, and impeding unto the planet, UFOs, and nature are all worthy and relevant things to believe in, yet their validity is stripped away in a land of relentless scientific reasoning and fracking. What about the soul and the universe? Cults may offer fulfillment of these gaps within society. Cults are not to everybody's taste, and some are pretty totally transgressive. I'd like to imagine that all of the cults with the worst endings to them began with good intentions and inevitably, eventually, spiraled out of control. 'Tis the result when one person holds on with complete power over the minds and will of other people. On the other hand, mean people exist who would revel in seeing people suffer. These people may be referred to as sociopaths or power-hungry people generally. The thin line between casual cult and not so casual cult, if there is one, would consider what extent members are choosing to worship a cult doctrine in comparison to the extent the leader and the doctrine is controlling their choices. Cults can be totalitarian, isolating, and a threat to members' lives. They have ended in mass suicide and flames. Could have something to do with the unbalanced nature of wider society and the unbalanced nature of one person leading hundreds. I guess some cults show us all the horrible things that exist on the earth in one concentrated group, which isn't that pleasant. Ironically, cults have also provided vulnerable and isolated members of society with a sense of purpose, a channel for collective spirituality or whatnot. It's their choice. I guess at the end of the day, we can decide if they do want to drink some cyanide infused Kool-Aid. Well, I guess they can if they want to. I mean, we're all autonomous individuals who has control over our own lives and therefore how and where to end it. Remove negative stigma on the word cult. It's just a word to describe the structure of a group of a certain style. What goes down in that group is never the same, so it's unfair for it to have a solid, subjective meaning. Believe